Imagine this. You arrive at a place that seems perfect. Stunning landscapes, like something out of a dream, a rich history, wonderful weather. But the people are not as welcoming as you expected. In the United States, not all states are famous for their hospitality. In fact, some have a reputation for being quite cold, both to tourists and those who decide to stay and live there. Have you ever wondered which states these are and why they have this reputation? In this video, we will reveal the 15 least friendly states in America and find out what makes them so closed and, in some cases, even rude. Stay tuned to find out if the state where you live or want to go is on the list. Alright, let's start with Alaska, the largest state in the US, but with the lowest population density, which also takes first place on our list of the least friendly states. Life in Alaska is not easy. Geographic isolation, extreme cold, and long, dark winters force residents to be self-sufficient and independent. This need to depend only on themselves can be interpreted as coldness or lack of hospitality, but the truth is that Alaskans are more focused on survival than everyday interaction. Many people move to Alaska looking for a quiet life, far from the hustle and bustle of big cities, which only reinforces this image of reservation and distance. Add to that the fact that the low population density leads to less frequent social contact and more closed communities. However, once you get used to the pace of life in Alaska and show respect for the independence of its inhabitants, you will discover that they are incredibly loyal and helpful people. Nature here is magnificent, but life demands a special kind of strength, which ultimately relegates social interactions to the background. In second place, Massachusetts, especially Boston, the state's largest city, known for its straightforward and direct people. People here don't beat around the bush, which can seem a bit blunt, especially for those not used to this communication style. The work ethic here is strong, and the fast-paced lifestyle, especially in the cities, leaves little room for small talk. Add to that the long, harsh winters, and it's no wonder they're not always in the cheeriest mood. Boston, one of the oldest cities in the United States, has a rich history that its residents are very proud of. This can create a sense of distance that might seem strange to newcomers. In Massachusetts, pragmatism and efficiency are valued, meaning traditional hospitality might take a back seat. However, once you get used to the rhythm of life and earn people's trust, you'll find them to be incredibly loyal with a strong sense of community. In third place, New York, the city that never sleeps, is another place where politeness isn't exactly a priority. The pace here, especially in New York City, is frantic. People are always on the move, rushing to their next meeting, whether it's for work, an appointment, or an event. All this hustle and bustle leads to quick and direct interactions, which can seem a bit cold to those who aren't used to it. The city is a constant melting pot of residents and tourists, which generates some impatience, especially in places like the subway or the crowded streets of Manhattan. Plus, there's the high cost of living. The constant struggle to survive in one of the most expensive cities in the world can make people seem more concerned with their own problems than with those of others. Outside of New York City, in the rural areas of the state, the atmosphere is a bit more relaxed, although there is still a certain pragmatism that can often be mistaken for coldness. In fourth place, Florida, the Sunshine State, known for its beautiful beaches and warm weather, but it's not always like that. Florida has a reputation for being a state where residents aren't always the most welcoming, especially in tourist areas. Cities like Miami, Orlando, or Tampa are constantly full of tourists, which can be annoying for the locals. Add in the heat and humidity, plus the constant threat of hurricanes, which can create a tense atmosphere where people tend to be more reserved. The large number of retirees living here can also contribute to the feeling that the state is a bit closed off, as many residents are looking for a peaceful life without too much hustle and bustle. Florida also has its own problems with wildlife, like alligators and snakes, which can increase stress levels. All of this contributes to an environment where local residents are more focused on dealing with their surroundings than being particularly friendly to newcomers. In fifth place, New Jersey, often overshadowed by its famous neighbor New York, is known for its straightforward and direct attitude, which many might consider rude. New Jersey residents are known for their impatience, especially on the road, where honking and hand gestures are common. This behavior might seem impolite to people from regions with a more relaxed or formal communication culture. However, New Jersey residents are very loyal to their state and their culture. Local pride is very strong here, but the fast-paced lifestyle and desire for efficiency make communication quick and to the point. Big cities like Newark or Jersey City only reinforce this impression of hurriedness, while people in the suburbs seem more reserved and less likely to interact with strangers. In sixth place, we have Rhode Island. The smallest state in America, Rhode Island has a reputation for being a bit closed off. Small, close-knit cities like Providence can make newcomers feel like they've walked into a family reunion they weren't invited to. Rhode Islanders are very proud of their heritage and traditions, which can create a sense of being closed off, not always welcoming to newcomers. As a small state, Rhode Island is known for its strong community ties, which can make tourists or newcomers feel out of place at first. This sense of being closed off is reinforced by the fact that locals tend to socialize within their own circles, reinforcing the idea that they're not really interested in meeting new people. Seventh place, California. California is famous for its natural beauty, sunny beaches, and relaxed lifestyle, but in reality, many people consider it a place where the residents are distant and self-centered. In cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco, the fast pace of life and the competition in industries like entertainment and technology make people focus mainly on their own goals. This focus on self-promotion and professional success can give the impression that social interactions are superficial or even cold. Add to that the huge influx of tourists throughout the state, the high cost of living, which creates a lot of stress for residents. They often don't want to spend time building strong relationships with people who may be temporary. All of this contributes to the general impression that Californians are closed off, even though behind that facade, many of them turn out to be kind and friendly when you get to know them better. Eighth place, Pennsylvania, a state of contrasts. There are big cities like Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, which can seem a bit closed off at first, and rural areas with close-knit communities. In the cities, life is hectic and people value efficiency, which often leads to short and direct interactions. In Philadelphia, for example, people can seem a bit blunt, and their passion for local sports teams is so strong that it can be intimidating for newcomers. Imagine fans of Real Madrid or Barcelona. On the other hand, rural communities are more traditional and tend to be reserved with strangers. People here highly value family ties and local traditions, just like in the villages of Catalonia, so it takes time to earn their trust. Although Pennsylvania may seem a bit tough at first glance, you'll find that the people are passionate and loyal once you get to know them better. 9. Missouri, also known as the Show Me State, is known for its reserved people. They treat strangers with caution until they prove themselves trustworthy. This mindset is especially noticeable in rural areas where communities are closer knit. Newcomers may have to earn trust before being fully accepted. As they say, show me who you are first, and then you'll be welcomed with open arms. In big cities like St. Louis or Kansas City, life is faster, and people are more open. But there's still a bit of initial skepticism. People in Missouri value honesty and being straightforward, so relationships usually develop gradually. However, once you earn their respect, you'll find that Missourians are incredibly loyal and generous, just like family. This get-to-know-you then accept-you approach, which might seem cold or distant at first, is a big part of the state's culture, similar to the reserved nature you might find in some parts of Russia. Number 10, Texas is famous for its size and the saying, everything is bigger in Texas, but it's also a state where people might seem more independent than welcoming. In big cities like Houston, Dallas, and Austin, life moves at a fast pace, and the focus on competition in business and industry creates an atmosphere where social interactions are short and to the point. In rural areas, people really value their personal space and privacy, which can make newcomers feel a bit isolated at first. Plus, the culture of self-reliance in Texas often leads to a do-it-yourself mentality, which can be seen as a lack of support or warmth towards others. However, once you're part of the community, Texans are known for their hospitality, although it might take a while. All right, we've arrived in Connecticut. Connecticut, this small northeastern state, might seem quite closed off and unwelcoming to newcomers. The proximity to big cities like New York and Boston creates an environment of constant hustle. People are focused on their work and personal lives, leaving little room for spontaneous interaction. In the suburbs, people live quite privately, more concerned with their routines than welcoming newcomers. If you add to that the high cost of living, which generates a certain implicit competition, the feeling of alienation becomes even more evident. But don't be discouraged. Once you become one of them, the people of Connecticut are loyal and faithful friends who highly value the relationships they have built. 12th place. Illinois, especially Chicago, is another state where the fast pace of life can make people seem cold. In Chicago, everyone is always on the move, which often leads to quick and direct interactions. Big city stress and heavy traffic also contribute to the feeling of impatience and rudeness. Outside of Chicago, in rural areas, life is more peaceful, but communities can be a bit closed off to newcomers. Illinois has a rich agricultural and cultural heritage that its residents are very proud of. However, newcomers may need time to truly feel part of these communities. 13th place. Virginia is full of history. It's a state where city and country life blend together, but it's also known for its people, who might seem a bit distant at first. In areas like Northern Virginia, which is really close to Washington, D.C., life moves super fast. People are very focused on their careers. This can make social interactions short and not very deep. Out in the countryside, people can be more private, more focused on their own local communities. This might give the impression that it takes time to be accepted. However, Virginians are known for their hospitality, which shines through once you make a real connection. In 14th place, we have Washington State, especially the Seattle area, known for what some call the Seattle Freeze. The impression is that people are polite but keep their distance. Despite the state's natural beauty, with its mountains, forests, and coast, many visitors comment that the locals seem more interested in their own lives than in making new friends, Like they have this famous way of being a little to themselves. The rainy and gray weather for much of the year also contributes to a more closed-off atmosphere, where people tend to stick to their own social circles. Although Washington State boasts a vibrant cultural and business life, this initial reservation that many feel can be an obstacle to building new relationships. And last on our list, we arrive in Arkansas, a state with amazing landscapes, but where people can be a little reserved with newcomers. In rural areas where most of the population lives, communities are very close-knit, and life revolves around family and lifelong friends. This can make newcomers feel a little left out. Besides, the intense heat and humidity can affect people's moods, giving the impression that Arkansans are not the most open. However, once you get used to the way of life and integrate into society, you'll discover that Arkansans really value friendship and loyalty. Each of these states has its own personality, its unique way of life, and even though at first glance they might seem a bit closed off, the hospitality here, like a good Turkish coffee, needs to be brewed. So when you're in any of these states, be patient, respect local customs, and with time you'll discover that even in the most unexpected places, there will always be people willing to welcome you with open arms.